I'll come on with a little update from my gardens. Like, check it out. Look at that. Blam. The thing. This is one vine. See that this guy, he's a good size. I don't know if you can see this guy. But pretty good. And the one vine, I got like 10 of these. So like, look, that's a beer can. That's a good sized little melon there. And boom, I got one over there. One got eaten fully. It takes about like 4 days to get to about that size. They grow really quickly. And the first one got eaten by Gregory, which is fine. He can eat them. And he was so happy. He came out and he's just like, yo, I like what you're doing. It's nice. And he left the others because he's, it was cool. So we got a lot of biennials down here, which is cool. I'm glad I left all the evening primrose because I was contemplating whether I was going to gank them all, but they really came in nicely when there wasn't a whole lot of other things going on. It was some other guys, but the pollinators let me know. They said no, good call on keeping these because they were very friendly, and he's like, yeah, it's a good call, because they knew I was in contemplation of it. But he's got another one over there. There's another one right there. I thought it was about 8 of them, but there's 5 left. They might have got eaten, but it's interesting. It's off of one vine, and had they been pulled, there'd have been like 20 off the one plant, but you don't need that. And it's interesting because the second to last one that was growing, it took only, there's, that might be Winston's little home. I think, I don't know, some little bird. There's birds everywhere, all over the place. And I think that's where our mystery guest was hiding, because I'd always hear them, but I wouldn't see them. And they were pretty big. So I think that was, here's one more. He's a good size. That's a good size one. So there's probably a couple in there too, some other ones that I missed. But that's a good size. That's a beer can, and see, he's big. I really like the plant. Those plants are really nice. They come out good, so they're good to go. But you can see the biennials in here. It's like a good variety of stuff. I'm not going to get into them. Akira. This is a different one. He's a different variety. Because we got different stuff going on in the biennial center. I mean, they got different biennials coming around different places. The flax, though, you can see there's still a lot of it. That was really cool. They did a good show. It's interesting because they had the early blooming one, and then the other one which was later blooming. And here it is, still actually frost tolerant, and it's a good fibrous plant to add texture to the soil environment, or it's just good stuff. But there's I think there's nefarious hands in play. We saw some strange things I don't want to really get into. It's depressing. The people are like, you can't be sure, but sometimes you're sure. Sometimes I know for a fact they do nefarious. There are, and the people who do this is kind of like a aggregate status quo ruling class people. They're all evil, and they're all like that. They look at this. That came out nice. That came pumping back. It's the poppy. And look how vigorous, like this one. He had kind of been spent out, but see, that's a nice time for these guys. I gotta really get them in the ground, actually. I've been delaying. You can see that there's quite a lot of, we got a lot of broccolis over here, which is cool. I'm glad that they came out pretty thick. See, I left this with, I pulled some goldenrods out just the other day in that space, but there was a lot of touch-me-nots in here. Kind of got smothered, but I knew we would get these biennials. We got a good number of biennials that were in the understory. And would these be better off had I pulled the touch-me-nots? I don't think so. And it's a whole mat of fibrous stuff. Not as good as the flax. This is kind of like withered away already, but still a good layer all the same, because that's kind of like a mossy thatch that moss and lichen and algae and fungus will grow and make a little mesh to help these guys get some nutrients in the top layer, and these will have a vigorous growth. And I think there's plenty of biennials that are just going to storm through, and so it would have been different, but I want to have that niched layer of auto play. It would have been a little work, and I would have stepped on a lot of stuff and trampled on a lot of stuff, and I think maybe a lot of these things would have dried out and not made it. I think is it better off to do this. Plus, these are going to be biennials that are in here, because I'm sure there would have been things that would have came up had I pulled them, but this is more of a secure naturalization. These guys will naturalize a little bit better off. They're symbiotic